Hey, everybody. We are back on an episode of Performance. Today we have a guest, Brett Farmiloe from featured.com. Brett, how's it going?
Awesome. Good to be here.
Awesome. Love hearing it. Give us a little background on yourself. Tell us a little bit about yourself, featured, and some of your expertise.
Sure. I graduated from University of Arizona with an accounting degree, spent my career in marketing, ran a marketing agency for 10 years before selling it at the end of 21 to focus full time on featured.com. And I've been focused on that for the last 2.5 years. So I consider myself an auditor by nature, but marketer, by heart.
Love it. Well, we're going to dig a little bit into that today, your previous agency, and get into some tips and tricks that we've done. But first, I have to ask about the Hot Pocket Challenge. What possessed you to do this?
Necessity, I would say. Anytime you're trying to get something off the ground, you got to make some sacrifices. And with the Hot Pocket story for us, I was looking to get a career education website off the ground. Basically, looking for some corporate sponsors to sponsor a cross country adventure in a recreational vehicle with three friends. And we were looking high and low, and came across a food company that gave us an unlimited supply of Hot Pockets. And so that was both a blessing and a curse. It was like the movie Super Size Me, where the guy eats Mickey D's for 30 days straight. For us, it was Hot Pockets, breakfast, lunch, and dinner until we were just fed up and threw away all the Hot Pocket vouchers, and I have not touched a Hot Pocket in probably 18 years.
Wow. Crazy, crazy, crazy. Now, kind of going back to those days, I mean, I'm sure that was a defining moment for you.
Yeah,
Like you
absolutely.
got a sponsor, you had this opportunity. What did you learn from this?
Yeah, so just to give some context, so I was coming out of school, majored in accounting, accepted his job as an auditor, wasn't sure that that was the right path for me. Also noticed that a lot of other college students weren't sure about that next step to take after graduation, so created a career education website that would help inform them about the career paths that others have pursued. And so for us, I was going out collecting those stories. Mode of transportation was an RV, both again out of necessity, some promotional value, and then also just a good place to sleep as we cruised 16,000 miles, 38 states, and interviewed 300 people. So, biggest thing for me in terms of learning lessons was, in hindsight, many years later, it's just that many of us don't have an outlet to share our life's experiences and expertise. Like, not everyone gets to be
Yeah.
on the show talking about what they've learned, and for 99% of the people, they don't have an outlet to share that. So for us, it was always a surprise of why the CEO of MGM Grand would sit with us for an hour and talk about his life stories and secrets. And it's really because no one gets that opportunity often to share and have a positive outlet.
Yeah. Love it. And, you know, sounds like quite the entrepreneurial journey that you've had over the years. How did you parlay that into, you know, pursuit of passion to marketers and finally to featured?
Yeah, so Pursue the Passion was the career education startup that we had. We then went to go work for the sponsor for a number of years. I stopped working there to start a mobile app company at a time where uh, like photo augmentation wasn't even a thing, and did that.
Yeah.
That was a big failure because I tried to sell apps to minor league baseball teams and discovered that the market size was very limited and the willingness to pay was very small. And so
Yeah.
uh, quickly went to go, kind of stumbled into a great opportunity where I was a contractor for a client, Hugh Jackman, the actor. We launched a charitable coffee company that was ultimately acquired by Keurig. And so it was just me, Hugh, a barista, co-founder, and that was a really cool journey that helped me realize that I could start my own marketing agency. So did that for a number of years, got the website to rank on page one for the term digital marketing company, and then decided to actually start a digital marketing company. So did the agency for about 10 years, and then really, like, we had about 50 small business clients, and the biggest challenge for them was getting visibility and credibility online. You had,
Yeah.
clients that range from like an eyelash extension supply company to an equipment financing company to sex crimes lawyer in Washington. And so, how do you get that expertise and bring it online and give that business the visibility and credibility that it's wanting. And so that's why we created Featured as a platform that helped them share their expertise and get that expertise featured in articles.
Yeah. How is it like selling a business? I mean, it sounds like you've sold a couple different businesses to other larger businesses. How is that process?
It's the auditor in me helps that process go a little bit smoother because if you build a big business, no real surprises and blemishes, then the
Yeah.
process required becomes easier because essentially that due diligence process is hit all the different check boxes and don't have any red flags or surprises, and then the path to acquisition is a little bit easier. So it's just as we're off on this journey with Featured, it's really around like how do you build a great business, and that all goes back to how do you deliver on the value prop for customers, and if you can do that well repeatedly, then you have something that's pretty attractive.
Yeah, I love it. I love I think a lot of entrepreneurs when they're starting businesses, they forget about their financials. They just think they're building an amazing product, they're doing this and they're like, "Oh, we're being successful." And they don't think about when I think of auditor, I think of EBITDA and I think of bottom line, top line and then bottom line. And I think most people they're like, oh, that's a business expense. This is a business expense. That's a business expense. And when you've sold a business, I've sold a couple businesses and I did not understand EBITDA at all because it's all going to my pocket and the carve outs and the stuff like that. And if you can be the auditor in your business and really actually define where your business is and try and not spend money, your business is a lot more valuable. And I found like every like $1,000 of EBITDA that the business is making equals like astronomical amounts on the back end. And if you can hit those multiples of like, 500,000 EBITDA, a million EBITDA, 2 million EBITDA, 8 million EBITDA, 10 million EBITDA, once you start crossing certain thresholds, the amount of money that you will make off this business is exponentially higher.
Yep,
So
absolutely. And that was a big surprise for me too. That's the metric that matters. It's not revenue. It's how much are you earning? What's the net profit, and what are you ultimately going to deliver to a potential acquirer?
yeah, I think we all see like Silicon Valley, the movie, or this or that, and we think that they get these astronomical valuations, and that's what they're getting and this. But it's just I don't feel I feel they're setting some of us up for failure.
Yeah, absolutely. At the end of the day, it's pretty black and white. Are you in the black? Are you in the red? And what kind of value are you ultimately delivering?
Yeah. Now let's jump into featured a little bit. I'd love to. It looks like you've at least from what I can see, you've collected 500,000 answers from experts. What was the aha moment that kind
Yeah,
of led to this?
yeah. So it's really around this unsolved problem that small businesses have, which is how do you build visibility online? And so the thing that small businesses typically don't have is a bunch of resources, but they have an abundance of knowledge to share. And so the aha moment for us was basically around those 50 small business clients that we had at our former agency. And how do you take their expertise and what they're super passionate about and channel it in a way where it's a win-win for them in terms of exposure, and then in terms of really valuable content for a publisher who's looking to feature that content in articles. And so for us, what Featured is and how it works is you could essentially show up, you could answer questions that pertain to your expertise, and then get those insights published in articles. So you have publishers like Fast Company or Inc. or Entrepreneur who are asking questions to vetted experts, and then you're able to answer those questions and then get featured in a variety of different publications.
Sounds like a good problem to have for
Yeah,
businesses to be able to go in there and a win-win for everybody.
yeah, it's interesting because our business model, it's a freemium SaaS model where you can answer 3 questions a month at no cost and then pay a subscription for unlimited submissions. But
Yeah.
it's interesting because even though the business model is that, it's a marketplace where you've got on one side the publishers who need the content, and on the other side you have the experts who are wanting to share to gain exposure. So it's a lot of different moving pieces, but it's a really really interesting company.
Yeah. How did you scale that? Like, what is the first like 6 months of that business look like? Obviously, you had your agency clients and you brought, some or all of them over. What is it, after that? How do you scale this thing?
Yeah, exactly. So there's in a marketplace, there's always the hard side of the marketplace, and that's where all the focus. For us, it's publishers. How do you create the real estate and the opportunities for experts to essentially answer that? So for us, first months was just focused on how do we leverage our personal networks to go out and develop relationships with publishers and to essentially convince them to for a trial. Like, hey, here, let us ask this one question. Let us turn it into an article, and if you like it, publish it, and if you don't worry about it. And if you really like it, then let's continue that journey. So it's all about retention and pretty slow growth for us. Over the first 2.5 years, as we've looked to really retain some of those valuable publishers. And then the more publishers that we have, the more exposure that we could ultimately offer to those experts. So now, after a couple years in, it's beginning to grow more on a network effect, where the more people that we do feature, the more people that will share that. And so we're starting to see some pretty rapid acceleration now.
Love it. I love hearing about entrepreneurs being successful. So, what would be your best piece of advice to entrepreneurs looking to start something, not necessarily in your same area, but that have had success but not had astronomical success?
Yeah, I think it comes back to almost like a job description of what is a founder, and like what's the main focus points, and like when you wake up on the daily, what are the activities that are going to lead to success. And for me, it's really around three things. It's around strategy, it's around people, and it's around capital. And so you got to make sure that you've got the financing that you need to execute on the strategy, and then you got to make sure that you have the people in place who are really well aligned and clear about what they need to do to achieve that vision. And so that's what I've tried to focus on a daily, is making sure that the business is in a safe and secure financial place, that we've got the right strategy that people can execute.
Yeah. Now, when you say a safe financial space, I take it you learned from your hot pocket days of not having the right amount of financing to be able to grow it and scale it in the ways that you want. Walk me through the financing a little bit. How do you think about that as you're growing and starting a business?
Yeah, I think that if you look at cash being the lifeblood of a business, it's what's your burn rate? Like, how much capital are you burning on a monthly basis? And then what's your runway, essentially? How many months do you have until you hit zero? And so that helps manage your business on a monthly basis, because now if you have 8 months of runway and you're burning 30 grand a month, how do you plan to take it down to 20? How long are you going to be till your cash flow break even? And then ultimately, are you seeing the signs of growth in the business where it actually makes sense to pursue outside capital, so that you can continue to accelerate on the path that you're on without sacrificing and making some short-term decisions at the cost of long-term success. So I think that those are the two metrics that you take a look at: is how much runway do you have, and then what's your burn rate.
Yeah, love it. Now, you have a pretty diverse background. I speak with a lot of people, and normally it's like same niche, but you went from like helping Hugh Jackman with a coffee company, first MailChimp expert west of the Mississippi, and like building this huge answers company where you're asking questions and getting them featured all over the internet. How has all these experiences contributed to who you are today?
Yeah, honestly, it's weird. They're all, in hindsight, pretty connected, and have prepared me for the journey that I'm on right now. Where you mentioned like being the first Mailchimp expert west of the Mississippi, like that was a real thing. Like I had no business being in that directory, but I asked to be in there, and like I was just on chat with Mailchimp experts all day, and ultimately I became one. So and now we're at Featured, we're really relying on email, and so all of those previous
Yeah.
experiences, from being able to bootstrap a business, to grow a business, to a strength in search engine optimization, and expertise in email marketing, all of that's just kind of accumulated in what we're doing now. And so, like, for any person who's out there, it's always drawing on those previous experiences and trying to trying to connect the dots like in hindsight and apply those in whatever situation that you're at the time. So that's very true for me, where I feel like the last 17 years have really made me and put myself in a position where I could draw on all those past experiences and execute with a little bit more confidence.
Love it. And it hasn't just been you though. It hasn't just been your execution. You're one of the you've been recognized, or your company has been recognized as one of the top places to work in Arizona. What's your secret sauce there? Because it's not just about you and your expertise, but you're also building a culture around you. How do you combine those two, and what can others learn from that?
Yeah, I think a lot of it goes back to the stuff that I gathered from interviews on the road trip in the RV. And there's a few, stories that stand out, but really, I think the commonalities of what people had told me was you've got to give your employees significance. You've got to be able to rally people behind a very clear vision and mission, and get the right people who are excited about that. So significance is one. I think trust is another pillar, where you've got to give enough people enough freedom to people to execute and do their job. And then the third thing I think is measurability. Being able to measure what success is and isn't for people can really help motivate folks and put the company in the right direction. So I think those are the three pillars that I try to lead with: is just significant trust and measurability.
Yeah. Now you said you alluded a little bit to it of your pursue the passion. Give me what your best story there.
Um, you know, there's a lot of them. Um, because we traveled 16,000 miles. We were on the road for 120 days. Went to 38 states. Was with four buddies driving an RV. And you don't. Side note: you don't need a special license to drive an RV. So that was a big surprise as we went. Drove the RV through Manhattan and Boston and the East Coast where it's a little tighter.
Mm-hmm.
Quite honestly, I think that like the the best story for me was just securing the ultimate sponsorship that morning. I was, or actually like a week before, I had cold pitched the company, and then they put me in touch with the CEO, and the CEO said, "Hey, bring your big dreams," in an email to me. And that night, I just worked all night, taking it from this to 5x what that vision was, and pitched them on that. And by that afternoon, I was test driving RVs with a check and ready to go on this journey that I had worked pretty hard to get going for about a year and a half. So like for me, it was just earning the opportunity to be able to pursue the dream. That in itself was probably one of the things that stands out in hindsight.
Dude, that's a great story. I'm sure you had that. You'll probably look back on that time for the rest of your life, and even though it was hard and you were struggling and this and that and finding this and food and hot pockets and all these, but you look back on those memories, and those are some amazing memories because of this struggle was so real. And I look back on some of my times when I didn't have this amazing successful company, or that success, or this success, and we're starting out and doing, and those are some very fun memories that I have.
Yeah,
So, oh,
absolutely.
um,
And what it is, man. Once you get the bug, it's like all you want to do is start companies and be on that type of adventure and capture that. And sometimes it works, sometimes it doesn't, but it doesn't stop you.
you know what? It doesn't. And yeah, once you get the bug, man, it's hard to get that bug out. And you know what? You're going to fail along the way, and you got to just fail a little bit better, then a little bit better, then a little bit better along the way. So, um, you contribute to a lot of major publications and put out a lot of content, and you're asking questions as what is the current state of content, and where is content headed? Where are we going? Where's the next
Yeah,
year looking like?
I wish I had a crystal ball. It's becoming more complex and more cloudy, I would say, because of the disruption to business models and how AI is kind of transforming the landscape. So I think a lot of publishers are trying to figure it out, at which anytime there's disruption in an industry, there's opportunity. And so, for us and for really anyone who's looking to get their voice heard, I feel like there's more opportunities and at the same time less opportunities depending on how much grit and perseverance you have and how much you actually apply towards it. So that's not a very clear answer because I don't have a very clear answer.
Yeah. Okay. Give me your one prediction. You're like, oh, if I could look out 5 years into the future and I have a crystal ball, what's my guess on where content will be in 5 years?
Honestly, a lot of the same. Like I think that you're still going to be very reliant on experts to contribute content that readers trust. And if anything, I think tying it to people and humanity is going to be more important than ever. Especially, as AI gets smarter, I think that readers still want to hear from other people and hear about real world experiences. And so, as a writer, contributor, the more that you could have unique experiences to share, the more different that you'll be, and the more that you'll stand out in the future of what content will look like.
Yeah, you brought up earlier that people don't really have a meaningful place to share their expertise. I think that experts, the future of content is a lot in these experts. And, people listening to this podcast, you guys have very, very amazing things to share, amazing perspectives, unique perspectives on life that can really help out and resonate with other people. It brings me to, I help out this charity called Open to Hope, and we film tons of videos, and we ask about like grief and loss and death, and we interview people on, hey, how did you find hope after a loss? And people are always like, oh, they're so hesitant. And we now have 7 videos online, all of them with less than 50 views, and they have comments on them like, you saved my life. We have one where a person's like, I was literally had a gun to my head and I was going to, just end the pain, and I watched this and this changed my life. And it really opened my mind up to sharing a little bit more. I think people have this perception that it needs to get a million page views to have any worth. And I don't think, I think if it gets 5 page views and it's meaningful, I think that gives worth to somebody out there. And I think that so many people just don't get that. And so many experts out there. I think the future of content is what you guys are working on. It's really cool. And, the ability and the outlets to share your expertise and help other people, I think is amazing. So what's your vision for that in the next, year?
Uh, well, I think that it's continuous because there on one side there's a lot of problems to be solved, and the mutual win-win helps solve those problems. And the problems that I think that most experts have is like, what do I do? How do I share it? What's my outlet? And how do I put it in a format that's digestible and consumable for readers? And publishers are experiencing, issues in terms of their business models and how does content continue to drive revenue and profits for their business, as ads kind of lose its luster and there's different changes in the industry. So I think that, in the next year, I think that probably one of the biggest things that could emerge is just an emergence of a new business model for publishers. And I think that experts will play a really important role in making that model sustainable. So I think that that's probably the one thing that will emerge in the next year is just clarity around how
Yeah.
publishers can survive and thrive.
Excellent. Well, I love it. Like that was that's a great piece of advice. I want to thank you so much, Brett, for being here and being part of our show. Before we go, though, I do have one question for you. World Pillow Fight Championship. Tell me about that.
Yeah, man. It's been on the bucket list for a while, and it'll still stay on ice. But born and raised in Sonoma County, in Santa Rosa, California, and growing up, every Fourth of July there was the World Pillow Fight Championships, which was a fundraiser for the Kenwood Fire Department. And 2006, they were expecting 2,500 people, 10,000 people showed up. They have never done it again because it was too popular. And being from Sonoma County and seeing the wildfires, devastate the area, Kind of in the last 5 years, 2017 being the worst year, I just feel like we need a little fun and fundraising for firefighters out there. So the goal for me and the vision for that is to replace the hot dog eating contest on ESPN and 4th of July with the World Pillow Fight Championships and drive some awareness for firefighters that are out there. So project in development. If you want to steal the idea, feel free. I think it's worth stealing.
Dude, I love it. I am in. So if you do this, I am in. I will not be a winner, but I will be a participator. So I would
Yeah, in
love
the
to.
audience, man, it's the most entertaining thing ever. I'm telling you. So yeah, we'll make it happen.
I love it. Well, thank you so much, Brett, for being here. And how can people best connect with you?
Just go to feature.com. And if you want to drop me an email, it's brett@feature.com.
All right. Thanks again. Thanks for being here, and listen every week for our podcast on performance, how to up your game.
Right on. Thanks for having me. Really appreciate it.
Thanks, Brett.
All right. See ya.
All right. See ya.